Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. We will go ahead and get started. I know some families and participants will continue to trickle in. That's all right. Go ahead and continue to introduce yourselves throughout using the chat box. This is our webinar titled Developing Family Literacy Practices to Support Children Birth through age 5. And this is part of our Every Family Counts webinar. So this is a family-facing webinar. Most likely, if you're joining us today, you're a family member. If you are an educator, you're welcome to join too and get some tips that you can pass on to the families that you work with. Yes, this webinar has closed captions, so if you'd like to turn on the captions, please locate the closed captions button at the bottom of your screen. Thank you, Carly. So we have an agenda. This evening, we'll go over an overview of reading is fundamental. We'll talk about phonological awareness, concepts about print, read alouds, additional resources. We have a sample read aloud at the end. So if you are a family, you're welcome to grab your little one at the end to enjoy the read aloud. And then we'll close with a question and answer session. So welcome, we're delighted to have you today. Oh, yes, we will share the slides as well as the recording. Thank you for that. Welcome to our webinar. We are Reading is Fundamental, the nation's leading children's literacy nonprofit, and we have been around since 1966, committed to a literate America and instilling joy of reading in children. Since 1966, we have reached 163 million children. We have sites in all 50 states, plus Puerto Rico and US territories. We have distributed 425 million books, and we have a network of 1 million volunteers, teachers, and advocates, which includes you now that you're joining us this evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin, for kicking us off. Hi, everyone. My name is Carly. I will be here in the chat and presenting throughout, supporting Erin, but it's nice to see you all virtually. Like I said, my name is Carly. I'm the literacy content developer here at RIF. So I was a former classroom teacher and reading specialist for a couple of years. I taught grades from pre-K to 7th grade, so have lots of wide range of experiences. And then I went to grad school a couple years ago and met my lovely boss, Erin, and it's been lovely ever since being a part of RIP, and I'm super excited to kick off our new series with you all. Throwing it to you, Erin.
Thanks, Carly. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Bailey. I am the Director of Literacy and Content at Reading is Fundamental. As Carly mentioned, both of us are certified reading specialists. I'm a former classroom teacher, reading specialist, and former preschool teacher, which is what ignites my passion to bring you this information today. And more than anything else, I am also a mom of 2 littles. So this is my daughter, Ruth. She's 3, and Raymond is 5 months old. So they are both readers, and hopefully by the end of this evening, you see that your child is a reader too.
I love that picture. I wish I had some littles to share. One day, one day.
Yes, and I will use examples of my daughter throughout this evening.
Amazing. Love it. Awesome. Thanks, Erin. So just to kick us off, we're curious to hear from you all. Just what brought you here today? It might be today, it might be tonight, depending on where you're dialing in from. But just want to hear from you all. So you can just go ahead and open the chat button right at the bottom of your screen. And just make sure that at the top it says to everyone so that we can all see your lovely responses. And we're just curious to see what brought you here today. And I will also join. Awesome. Yes, your infant is a reader, as Erin already mentioned.
Aw, love that. Glad to see our emails are reaching everyone.
Yeah,
Resources.
definitely. Awesome. Yes, I really encourage you all to, if you don't have your own littles and you're just joining because you're an educator or work in a school space or just work with young children, definitely share, like we mentioned before, the resources and the recording will be shared with you all within the next day or so. So please feel free to share any of these resources with any families that you might know that would benefit from our content as well. And it's pretty cool to see we do have a wide range of families and educators, and some who are both.
Wonderful. Ooh, a preschool teacher and mom of four. Wonderful. Awesome.
Wow. So feel free to continue to share your thoughts throughout, but we're going to continue. Thanks, everyone.
All right, today we're going to talk about early literacy, just some background knowledge. Phonemic awareness and letter recognition are the two of the best early predictors of reading success. We're specifically going to focus on phonemic and phonological awareness today out of those two. So making connections between phonemic awareness, letters, and print is an important step in developing readers and writers. Phonemic awareness may be a new term to you. So the best way to think about it is the individual sounds in words. So if I say the word cat to you, there are three sounds in that word. Ah, the other thing that's important about phonemic awareness, when I said cat, you probably saw the letters C-A-T, but phonemic awareness is only attending to the sounds in the words, not yet the association with the letter. A great way to think about it is all phonemic awareness and phonological awareness activities can be done with your eyes closed. So you're paying attention to the sounds in words. Children come to school every year knowing around 5,000 words when they enter preschool or kindergarten. Once a child enters school, they learn about 3,000 words per year. That's a lot of words. So we're going to talk about vocabulary development. And research and practice has shown that reading aloud to children is the best way to prepare them for learning to read and modeling the joy of reading. As I mentioned, Reading is Fundamental is committed to joyful reading, and that's something we want to share with you today. And if you do have questions throughout, you can go ahead and put them in the Q&A chat box, and we'll be happy to get to those at the end after our read aloud. But if you think of a question so that it doesn't slip away from you, go ahead and enter it into the Q&A section. So we'll talk about the phonological awareness stages. Something that I want to preface with stages is that children develop at different speeds, and they may not develop in this order. So if you Google phonological awareness stages, you may see this order, or you may see something slightly different. Like, for example, maybe you see rhyme and alliteration are switched. This is what we put together, but acknowledging that all children develop differently, particularly in the early years. But we'll go through each of these stages with you. Starting at the bottom is segmenting words into syllables. Syllables are attached to a vowel pattern or sound. So you can see here, I put watermelon. That has 4 syllables in it. So you can play games with your kids like clapping out syllables. That's a great way to get them to start using syllables. You can see I have a fruit down there because that's one of my favorite activities is to use all the fruit in our house and clap out the syllables in the fruit. Another way to know if it's a syllable is does your chin drop? So you can put your hand under your chin and watch my mouth as I say this, water, mel, un. That's because vowel sounds move your jaw down. So anytime there's a syllable, your jaw will drop. The next is rhyming, and we'll get really deep into rhyming this evening. Those are words with the same ending sound, so like dog, frog, and log. We'll talk about rhyming in a little bit more. Alliteration, this is a fun one. This is same initial sounds. So silly, Sally sells salami. A great way to play with alliteration with your littles at home is to use their names. So my daughter's Ruth. We can think of all the things that begin with the R sound, like Ruth, red, rose, running. And you can even come up with a silly story like Ruth runs with a red rose, something like that. The next is sorting words by beginning and ending sound. Beginning being the easier one and ending being more challenging. So for example, bed and dad end with the d sound. That's a higher skill. That's why it's a little bit step up on that on this staircase here. And then last on this phonological awareness stages are onsets and rhyme. Rhyme is R-I-M-E is different than rhyming that you see in the green step there. It's the vowel pattern at the end. So star, you can break into st and R. That R part, whatever comes before it is the onset, and then whatever comes after the vowel pattern is the rhyme. So interestingly, as I said, children all develop at different stages. My daughter Ruth, she's working on onset and rhyme right now, but she hasn't mastered the other kind of rhyming on the green step the ladder yet. So it just shows you that even though this is a pretty common procession of skills, it's not always the case. You may see something different with your little, and that's okay. So I said we were going to take a deep dive into rhyming today. It's one of the most fun skills, in my opinion. And rhyming, by definition, is the words with the same letter clusters, or sometimes we call them families at the end. And I gave the example earlier of frog, log, and dog. Rhyming is a great predictor of later reading success. Although, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's not as strong as other phonological awareness skills like individual phonemes, that k, at, segmenting those individual phonemes. However, it is developmentally easier than other sound tasks, and it's fun. So it's a great way to start if you are looking to incorporate phonological awareness games into your home practices. It helps children start to notice the sounds in the words that they hear. So there are actually 4 types of rhyming activities. And starting with 1, it is going to be the easiest level of complexity all the way up to 4. So 1, this is something you can start with your babies, singing a rhyming song, getting them used to hearing the sing-song pattern of your voice and the rhymes. And this is also for enjoyment. Babies love to hear your voice. They start to hear your voice all the way from when they're in the womb. They can recognize your voice when they're born. So singing rhyming songs to your baby is a great way to foster literacy and just build your relationship with them. Step 2 would be ability to repeat a rhyme. So I've noticed my daughter starting to do this. We'll go over a song in a little bit. She can sing songs. She might not know that they are rhyming yet. She's just repeating. It's very fun. Um, the next stage would be to read a couple of lines. And when I say read, I mean recite, or you can read or recite it to your child and ask them which 2 words rhymed. And I'll model this later during the read aloud. And then the fourth, this is the most challenging task, is to give your child 1 word. So if I said to you frog, what words do you think rhyme with frog? And they can come up with their own words like dog and log. Okay, so I said we would have an activity. This one is a song, a rhyming song called Green and Five Green and Speckled Frogs. And Carly is going to share this resource document with you. You will also receive it in the email to follow up with this. So don't worry if you're not getting it right now, you will have this resource. And all of these things are for free on our website. So you can see here at the bottom, there's some cute little frogs that you can cut out. And I'll show you because my daughter helped me make mine. You can tape these onto sticks and make stick puppets. I actually just took a little bit of paper, if you can see, and made it into a ring so that I could put it onto my fingers. So my daughter colored these, we cut them out, put them on. And one thing I want to say about singing is every child can and loves to sing until someone tells them that they cannot or that they're not good at it. And you can sing too. So we love for you to sing to your child, even if you're not a confident singer. Certainly, it's not something that I see as my best skill set, but I'm still willing to do it because I want to instill that joy in my children. And I want them to see that they are singers. They're going to be singers just like they're going to be readers until somebody tells them that they aren't. So I'm not going to sing this whole song for you today, but I'll sing the first verse so you can hear the pattern of it, and then I'll sing the last verse for you. So this is called Five Green and Speckled Frogs, and the melody goes, Five green and speckled frogs sat on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are four green speckled frogs. Glub, glub. It's great. It's a counting activity too. One, two, three, four. So you would sing that way all the way to the end, taking off one frog at a time. Facial expressions are very welcome. That's how you um, teach your child expressive reading and speaking. So now we're down to one frog if you look down at the last verse there. One green and speckled frog sat on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. It jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are no green speckled frogs. Glub, glub.
I had FOMO, so I had to sing with you.
I love it. And if you were singing along at home, thank you. All right. So in addition to nursery rhymes, there are many wonderful books that rhyme. These are just a few of our favorites. Again, you'll get these slides. We have a website called Literacy Central where we have free resources that you can download and print or use online that go with all of these books. The first one, Scarecrow's Wedding, but I do want to give a shout out to Julia Donaldson, the author. She makes wonderful rhyming books. All of her books rhyme, highly recommend them. This is a fun one for the alphabet, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. It's the story of a bunch of alphabet children who sneak out at nighttime and climb up a tree, and then they fall out of the tree. So it's great for letter recognition, and it's a rhyming book. Giles Andre is also a great author when it comes to rhyming books. So this one is Cock-a-doodle-doo, Barnyard Hubbabaloo. Hard to say that one. And kids love farm animals, and you can connect that to songs like Old MacDonald Had a Farm and other songs. Making making animal sounds is also a great phonological awareness activity. Good Night Moon, a beloved classic by Margaret Weiss Brown, and that one rhymes as well. And then one of our family favorites is Good Night Construction Site. It's a rhyming book, and all of the construction site trucks say goodnight to each other. This one used to put my daughter to sleep when she was a baby. Just the cadence of my voice reading it, something was soothing about it and would put it to sleep. So I give this book as a gift to any new moms.
All right. So thanks, Erin, for kicking us off and teaching us some wonderful things. So we're going to continue right down that path, and we're going to talk about something called concepts about print. So what are concepts about print? A concept about print is the child's earliest introduction to literacy. So this is they're starting to get the ideas that when we speak, when we like spoken language, all of the things that we say can also be written down. So they're starting to see all of the things that Erin was just mentioning before. They're also starting to understand that all of those words can also be in written form. Another concept about print is understanding that books are read from left to right and top to bottom. There are some really cool tools out there that can help students like follow along in order to really gain a deeper understanding of that concept. Another thing is that each word we point to is a spoken word, and that words are separated by spaces. So, for example, if you're reading with your little and just sitting there reading with them, they're starting to see that the words that you're reading to them are words that you're picking up off the page. And also, they're starting to see that between each word, there's some type of space indicating that the story is being told. So they might not necessarily know how to communicate that they're seeing those things, but all of these things that we're doing with our littles are teaching them those different concepts about print. It's also teaching them the difference between letters and words, individual letters versus longer words when multiple letters are together. And then this skill of concept about print is usually mastered around the end of kindergarten. So if a lot of you have very littles on here, this is it's totally normal that they might not understand or know these things yet. This is a skill that they'll master later on down the road. So where does all this stuff begin? We're going to talk about something called environmental print. Environmental print is kind of what it sounds like. It's the printed images and words that you see in the environment surrounding you. So this might be a sign, a food label, something on a product, or even traffic signals. My parents love to tell the stories of when I was little driving in cars. I would constantly be reading signs to them, and they were always told, like, she's just looking at signs, like that's not actually like reading the sign, but it is. It's understanding that there are words that match words that you're saying out loud on paper and on signs. So if your child can read signs and read cereal boxes and read cookie boxes and literally anything, that if you're going to Target or Walmart and they can recognize that they're there by the sign, then your child's reading, because they are reading that sign and they are understanding that it's representing something. There are words on there, and they're understanding that, like, let's look at this McDonald's sign. They'll know that that sign says McDonald's just by the golden arch, but they're recognizing that there's a longer word there as well. So they'll start to understand that the signs represent things that they are reading as well. So something that I love to teach and talk about is writing, especially littles writing, the early stages of writing, mostly because when I first joined the teaching field, I started in pre-K4, and I was a brand new teacher and didn't like the idea that drawing and scribbling was writing. I was like, it just didn't make sense to me until I started to see that it absolutely does, because drawing and scribbling, just like, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but just like this picture right here, they're starting to understand that circles make different shapes. And eventually they'll start to understand that a circle like that might look like an O, because they're starting to see that they're starting to produce something that might look like a word. So if we're looking at this kind of developmental stage on the right here, the earliest writing patterns are drawing and scribbling, just like I mentioned. As they start to develop more of these other ideas, they'll start to develop letters and letter-like forms. So like some things might look like a K might be half written. So they're starting to understand that some things are represented by a certain type of shape of a letter. Then they'll start to move on to writing out sounds that they hear. So like Erin mentioned earlier before, one of the activities is recognizing what a word sounds like in the beginning and at the end. So if you see on the left down here, I'll give you a little preview and say this is a screenshot of happy birthday. So happy birthday, mom. So you can see that they clearly heard the H in the beginning here. They heard like a P or a B sound at somewhere in there. So they're starting to represent those letters as well. And they even kind of spelt out mom down here. They're also matching their illustrations with what they're doing. So that is 100% developmentally appropriate. If you look at this and you're like, my child doesn't know how to spell happy birthday, like this is a clear sign that they're starting to pick up on those sounds and sounds of those letters and words that you are reading to them. And of course, pictures are always fun. And then beginning sounds are usually the easiest. So we'll start with those are usually the easier ones. The harder ones are usually at the end. And then in the middle is the most tricky. So they'll usually master beginning and ending before they master middle. And that makes the most sense because it's what they hear in the beginning and at the end. So I kind of already said a little bit about this, but as the stages move on, they'll start to represent what letter sounds they hear throughout the word. So some in the beginning, kind of some towards the middle and at the end. They'll start to make connections between letters, sounds, words, and illustrations. So here they wrote the message, but also illustrated a picture as well. So they're starting to understand that just like the stories you're reading aloud to them that has pictures and words. When children engage in writing, they're actively figuring out how the process works using what they already know about reading. So reading and writing, they're strong predictors of one another. So strong reading skills are usually predictors of strong writing skills and vice versa. And I do think that historically writing, like the power of reading instruction and getting our kids reading has been the focus for so long. And of course it is and still should be, but getting a little pencil or something in the hand of a little and just getting them those times to practice drawing shapes and circles and images is a really strong predictor of their reading comprehension skills as well, and their decoding words and et cetera, all their reading skills. So on the topic of writing, we'll talk about books that don't have words. So what are the power of wordless picture books? These are becoming a lot more popular, I've noticed across the last couple years. And in a wordless picture book, there are no words. So the children have to use the illustrations to tell the story. So by looking at the illustrations, it's requiring them to look at facial expressions, body gestures. They might see like a clue in the illustration that tells them about where the setting is or where the story takes place. So even though there's no words in those stories, they still have to have those the background of how a story is told and that it has a setting, it has some characters, something happens first, second, and third, or beginning, middle, end. Like they still have to access those skills. So wordless picture books are really actually an amazing way for students to be really creative, and they can really offer them endless possibilities because it's all up to them to use the pictures to tell the story. So it's a really good way to get students or littles to start really being excited about what they're reading. I'm gonna throw it back to Erin. You're on mute, Erin.
Thank you, Carly. So go ahead and answer in the chat if you can, what memories you have of being read aloud to. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why you should read aloud to your littles starting at birth. So as you're entering those in the chat, I will share number one, and I will keep reiterating this, is that we are all about bringing the joy of reading to children because we believe that instilling joy in reading will sustain children and make them become lifelong learners and lifelong readers. So starting with, we read to our children because of enjoyment. Attached to that, this also increases their motivation to want to learn to read. If they have happy memories of reading with you, they're going to aspire to become a reader themselves. As Carly mentioned, it's great for teaching concepts about print. And I'll share anecdotally, I was reading with my daughter a book that had a combination of some wordless picture book pages and some pages with words on it. And we got to one of the wordless picture book, wordless pages, and she said, "Read it, mommy." And I said, "Well, there's no words on this page. Why don't we talk about it?" And then the next page, when we turned to it, it did have words. And she said, "There's words, read it." In that very moment, she realized the distinction between words, pages with words and pages without words. And this is important for building concepts about print. Also, as Carly mentioned with the wordless picture books, learning story structure, or what we call storybook talk, the ways that stories have beginning, middle, and end, that there are characters and settings often, and the way that they build up to a climax, and then there's a falling action and a resolution. These are all important skills for both reading and writing. Vocabulary development. We talked about how children come to school around 5,000 words and then they start throwing in 3,000 words per year. That happens through reading books. Hearing you read fluently, meaning that you are reading with expression, you're reading the way that you sound when you talk, that helps build fluency in children. And it also builds their background knowledge. I always have a lot of great comments. Parents reading to us every night, going to the libraries. Oh, even some favorite books, Dr. Seuss, Go Dog Go. Definitely.
I love the shout out to Reading Rainbow too. Not sure if
Yeah.
you know the connection with us in LeVar. So love that Reading Rainbow shaped some of your earliest memories.
Okay, so we'll talk about selecting books for ages birth through 5. Um, One thing that I'll say is that books, try to have them be able to be read in one sitting. And it's okay if there's not that many words on a page, or as Carly pointed out, if there's some books that don't have any words in them. The importance is building that joy around reading and spending the quality time together. So we would say a one sitting as 5 to 10 minutes. With your youngest children, it might be even shorter than that. It might be only a 2 or 3 minute book. Like this book, Moo Ba La La La, that can probably be read in about 2 or 3 minutes. There's not that many words on the page. Rich language and vocabulary. Rhyming, we talked about Llama Llama Red Pajama, another wonderful rhyming book. Simple plots that children can retell in their own words. This helps build that story language or knowledge of story structure. Pattern books with repetitive and predictable phrases. This one up here, we're going on a bear hunt, is great for that because every other page starts with, we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. I'm not afraid. I'm paraphrasing there, but something like that. And then this family encounters different things along the way, like mud, and the mud makes a sound. It's a squelching sound, squelch, 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 and they go through grass. But it's a very repetitive pattern that children just love, and they start to learn predictable phrases. As we mentioned earlier, books that incorporate alliteration, that's similar sounds at the beginning, rhyme, and onomatopoeia is what I just said there, that squelching sound. It's words that represent sounds. For younger readers, simple, bright pictures against a solid background. And for babies ages birth to 1, black and white books, or they call them high contrast books. Babies love looking at high contrast books, and they also love looking at books with faces on them. And then here's some engagement strategies for your littles. You might not be able to tell exactly how small that bookshelf is there, but it's about 2 feet tall. So having a small bookshelf in your home, it can be one like this, or you can even make your own using a milk crate or old, boxes that something came in, something at their height so that they can select their own book. Um, Another thing that I love, and you'll see it in this picture here, if possible, is to have a bookshelf where the covers are actually facing out. This one makes it easier for children to grab the book. They have more dexterity to lift the book up than to pull it out by the spine, the way that you and I are probably used to pulling it out. But also they see the cover that way, and they can select their own book that way. Um, Read that book again and again. Carly knows for a long time, my daughter loved reading this book about Amu, Thank You, Amu. And every night we read Thank You, Amu. But that's okay because, again, it's building in that repetition, it's building enjoyment. They have predictability. And once you know the story, you can draw your attention to different things on the pages each time that you read. Um, and yeah, just enjoyment. So it's okay if they ask for the same book again and again. Varying your voice to fit the different characters also brings engagement to the book. And then to build concepts about print, encouraging your child to help you turn the pages. I'm going to model for you how to do that. Point to and name things in the picture, make those sound effects, that onomatopoeia that we talked about, and repeat the rhymes and phrases as you're reading them. And just making reading a routine in your life. For most people, this looks like reading before bedtime. If that doesn't work for you, it doesn't have to be that. Maybe reading is something you do in the morning before you all go off to start your days at school or work or wherever it is that you're going. Fitting it into your daily routine, but having something that's predictable for your child so that they look forward to reading with you every day, that's what's important.
Awesome. And soon, Erin's going to do our wonderful read aloud for us. So, as I start to share these couple resources for you all, if you have your littles near you and you would like to have them join and listen to a story, you can start to grab them as I share. In a moment, I will drop this link in the chat so you can have it. But just like Erin said throughout the presentation, sometimes it's a little bit hard to keep up with dropping things while I'm also sharing screen. So if I missed anything today, I do apologize, but do not worry. Everything you saw today, including a recording of this, if you would like to watch it again or share it, will be sent out to you, whether you're here right now or if you are unable to see it. As long as you registered, you will receive all of these things. So just wanted to shout out a couple other things that we have on our website. So at that link at the top, we have a whole bunch of little quick guides for families. And a lot of our resources are also translated into different languages. This one right here, you'll see this generic family tip sheet we have in multiple languages. I will say the majority of the stuff on there is available in English and Spanish, but some of them do have additional languages as well. There's all different types of tip sheets on there. in regards to just basic tips, ranging from basic tips to have like there's book suggestions on there. Let me move my little thing so you can see tips for talking with children. So just to maybe reiterate some of the things we did today, just having more conversations with students. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on there for you to share with your littles. There's also another song that looks just like the one that Aaron did, but it's Five Little Ducks. We also have that up on there, translated in Spanish. So we have a lot of wonderful resources that are going to come your way when this webinar is complete. And for the best part of the night, our read alouds. I'm going to throw it to you, Aaron.
Thank you. Do you want to stop sharing the screen so I can be a little bit larger? Okay. So
Definitely.
this book is a rhyming book that we're going to read today. It's called Good Night Little Bookstore, and it's written by Amy Cherricks. And this is read with permissions from Candlewick Press. And I just love this book. I don't know if you can fully appreciate it. It's long and skinny. It's a different shape of a book, so it's really fun. I mentioned to you that I was going to model how to turn the pages. So this is just a funny thing that a librarian taught me, but the correct way to turn a page so that you keep the book intact for the longest way possible is to pull it down from the corner there. Oh, and while I'm on this subject, one more thing I forgot is board books. If you want your books to last with your littles, I highly recommend board books. This one's a paper book, but lots of the examples we shared today are board books. So good night, little bookstore. Good night, little bookstore. Time to close. Good night, picture books. Face out in rows. Good night, door chime. Ding, ding, ding. Good night, register. Ring, ring, ka-ching. Can you say ding, ding, ding? And ring, ring, ka-ching? Yeah, those words rhyme. They both have the ing sound. Good night, new friends from far off places. Good night, familiar hometown faces. Good night, forgotten glasses and hat. See you tomorrow, bookstore cat. Let's look at the picture here. It says there's forgotten glasses and hat. Can you see that in the picture? Oh, yep, there's the glasses. There's the hat. And what about the cat? Oh, yes, there's the cat. What sound would a cat make? Uh-huh, meow. Good night boxes of crisp new arrivals. Poetry, dictionaries, tales of survival. Oh, I see a sign in this picture right here. It says safety first. This sign is telling her to be safe with these boxes as she's lifting them. Good night cookbooks, legends, and more. Good night mysteries and comics galore. And I see my daughter's name here, so I'm excited. My daughter, whenever she sees the letter R, doesn't matter where it is, that's her letter. And you'll probably notice that about your little too. Once they start to recognize the first letter of their name, they'll see it everywhere. Good night bookshelves and teetering stacks. Good night recycling sorted in sacks. And this sign says, keep door closed, please. I wonder why. Maybe because the cat will get out if they keep the door open. Good night, booksellers who turn off the light. See, she's in the light and here it's dark now. Good night, door sign, closed for the night. Good night, store clock, tick tock, tick tock. Good night, key that clicks in the lock. Do you hear the words that rhyme here? Tick-tock and lock, and even clock rhymes on this page. Good night, little bookstore, near and far. It's a beautiful page. We have different bookstores in different countries. Dream big, dear readers, wherever you are. The end. So thank you, everyone. That concludes the information that we have to present for this evening. We will turn it over to the Q&A. If you have questions, please enter them in the Q&A. We'll try to get to as many as possible, or we can follow up with you in an email. Just a reminder, anyone who registered this evening will get the slides, the recording, and any of the resources that we mentioned, links to any of the resources that we mentioned here today. We're so grateful that you were able to join us this evening.